Listen to this now, folks. This is supposed to be, again, this could be a professional writer. We could find out someday that the finder was in fact a professional writer who goes around the world looking for things and adventuring, because he alludes to doing that. Listen to this paragraph. This is not the kind of paragraph the average person writes. Forrest Fenn was the kind of Forrest Fenn was the kind of man to drink buttermilk out of the bottle. He kept alligators in the garden of his art gallery. He collected run-over soda cans as pieces of found art. He loved books and language and held on to words like cream that apparently nobody but he still used. He went into business with former Texas Governor John Connally, the Johnson and Nixon confidant who was wounded by the magic bullet in the Kennedy assassination, to sell Elmer DeHory's famed fraudulent masterpieces as fraudulent masterpieces. Forrest once shot a mountain lion and leapt down into a canyon, grabbed hold of the top of a tree, climbed down it, and tied the carcass to a rope so that he could lift it out and get a $50 bounty from the Cattlemen's Association. He was also a man with an independent mind and a security with his masculinity, perhaps uncommon to those of his generation, that allowed him to express difficult feelings and question his own decisions and values in life, becoming a pacifist after retiring from the military, and even regretting that affair with the beautiful mountain lion that had run in his direction. Does that sound to you like an average person writing their first missive to the Forrest Fenn community as the finder? No, that's a writer. So either the finder is in fact a writer. I'm just going to hang that right on there. The finder is a writer, either professional or semi-professional, or at the very least a hobbyist, someone who writes a lot. Or this is someone who's been paid to write this. This is a paid writer. And where do you find these paid writers? You find them on medium.com. The very web page where the finder published his story. All right, let's take another look at the pictures here. We have Forrest sitting in the conference room with the treasure. It's a different picture. Forrest wrote poignantly about his struggles with self-esteem and self-worth. It's probably these writings I connected to most. He goes on to talk about himself. Knowing the exact spot on the globe where a person would like to die is a weird intimacy to share with a stranger, but the experience of finding it out and proving it beyond a reasonable doubt provided confidence which was intoxicating to me, and perhaps helping me regain that belief in myself will be Forrest's greatest legacy to me. Forrest Fenn saved this guy's life. He re-imbued him with a sense of purpose and confidence. Forrest Fenn did that. I mean, this is a striking tribute to Forrest Fenn. It's all this really is about Forrest Fenn and what a great person he is. If you step back, that's all this is. Could that be written by someone who truly found the treasure that probably financially changed his entire life? Yeah. And, he communicated with him for 3 months, only met with him personally once. But Forrest Fenn has had an incredibly profound effect on the finder's life, if in fact this is truly the finder, if in fact there is a finder. In the outpouring of love Forrest received from his fans after his death, it was clear he knew just what to say to make people feel special. For me, it was soon after I told him I found the treasure when he let me know, completely unprompted, that he thought I was a genius. Then he goes on to say how incredible it was that Forrest Fenn, at 80 years of age, kind of what he called peaked. I'm not sure he peaked at 80. He started up a thing that got a lot of publicity, but I mean, it's a silly thing to quibble about, but I would say probably when he was fighting as a jet pilot, he was peaking as far as skill sets and physically. Yeah. Forrest had the ultimate poker face. In the summer of 2018, the only time I had talked to Forrest on the phone before finding the treasure, I called to tell him in desperation I had found a blaze. The mark that the poem says points to the treasure. That seemed, after some effort by me, to have been faked. This is really interesting. He says here that he's in this area where he eventually finds it, and someone had faked a blaze. It was faked by a cruel fellow searcher, even though it had evidently been there for years. I couldn't believe the chances. I told him exactly where I had been searching, but the call only lasted about 20 seconds, and he gave no impression he found my discovery at all interesting. That fake blaze was less than 1,000 feet from where I eventually found the treasure, and that's not even half the story. Folks, I thought you were supposed to know exactly where you were going to find this treasure. That's what I had been told by Forrest Fenn. This year was the first time I knew exactly where to go to find the treasure, literally to a wood structure that I knew it was going to be under, and I never went there because it got found 2 to 3 weeks before I was planning on going out to Montana, not Wyoming, but Montana. I understood the concept of you don't go find a patch of land like a square mile or even a square acre and then go looking for it. Forrest even said about that concept, no, you're gonna know exactly where it is. This guy went and scrambled around for 25 days before he found it. Some people I've talked to think that's odd, that he should have known exactly where he was going if he was truly the finder. When I met Forrest, he had forgotten about the phone call and found it amusing when I told him. Of course, he had no idea how much I had tortured myself trying to read his reaction to that call. Let's take a look at the next picture. These are such great pictures. And again, I think that without these pictures, no one would believe this. Oops. Oh, here we have just a picture of gold coins. Man, that's a lot. That's cool. I like coins. It's cool. And then we have Forrest with his. We have Forrest wearing and looking at his bracelet. Forrest was once quoted as saying, "Wearing that bracelet, talking about this bracelet, wearing that bracelet on my arm will be my best revenge." It was one of those things where the question has been edited out, and then they just show the answer. Forrest Fenn said, "The best revenge I'll have is wearing that bracelet on my arm." So there he is, getting revenge from someone about something, who knows. Of course, Forrest's greatest gift to humanity was his treasure. Sure, it could only be given to one person, the one who found it, but it inspired hope the world over and the joy of discovery for all those who got to go out and appreciate the wonders of the Rockies. No good deed goes unpunished, of course, and that hope spun off into myriad permutations Forrest couldn't have anticipated. This is not your average person writing this. And then he goes on to talk about people dying, etc. And how it became obsession. And he even talks about resenting Forrest. Now here we go again. It would be trite and a little bit flip to say this almost paints Fenn as a Christ-like figure. But earlier we talked about how Fenn could imbue people with a sense of purpose and confidence, and he seemed to understand people on this very compassionate level, stuff like that. You know, you can read it in the article. Then he says, just to emphasize my point, Forrest had a tremendous penchant, though, for turning the other cheek. He did an incredible thing and dealt with tremendous doubt directed his way, but he kept it to... Forrest had a tremendous penchant, though, for turning the other cheek. He did an incredible thing and dealt with tremendous doubt directed his way, but he kept to his word, and it was a gratifying experience to prove him right. In a final act of selflessness, in what should have been his moment of redemption, he went to great lengths to protect my anonymity. Over the past decade, he and his family had suffered stalkers, break-ins, and a potential kidnapping, just to name the things that have been publicized from misguided searchers. The guy knows stuff about Forrest Fenn we don't know, that we haven't read about yet. This makes you think this person is the finder, and somehow Fenn has told him this. It also makes me think this is simply someone that is very close to the inner circle, is part of the inner circle of Fenn, who knew Forrest Fenn very, very well. Doesn't have to be a finder. Nothing we have read here has to be the finder. There does not have to be a finder for this whole thing to be published. Because Forrest Fenn said the treasure was found doesn't mean it's true. Because a guy writes an article in a magazine, or rather an online publication service that is for writers and actually is a place where writers for hire hang out, doesn't mean it's really the finder. Almost makes you think perhaps it's someone that was paid to write this article, to enforce the concept that yes, there was a finder, that the treasure was found, that the lawsuits or the beliefs of people that said he did not find it, that it was retrieved, are false. I mean, this article promotes the concept of everything Forrest Fenn said before he died. I'm a wonderful, incredible human being. I'm incredibly compassionate. I put this thing out there. I just want families to go out and look for the treasure. It's sad people died and then I kept it going, but I did because other people had the right to look for it. I mean, that whole series of bad things that happened during the hunt versus Forrest Fenn's keeping the treasure hunt going has bothered a lot of people. I mean, people have said if all he really truly wanted was for there to be an adventure, for people to find a treasure and to have some hope in their life, and a kind of like getting a lottery ticket, and for a week or two until it comes out, you kind of think, yeah, what am I going to do if I get $1 million? That's worth letting people die. Yes, I understand they're all adults. I was in the same position. I felt like, well, if I die doing this, I'm certainly responsible, not Forrest Fenn. But if that was his only reason for doing it, and it wasn't his legacy, and it wasn't selling books, someone pointed out to me, why would he keep it going? It's not worth it. If people are starting to die. This person said, why not after the first person died would he not stop the hunt? Some people sue him for what? Stopping the hunt because someone died? I don't think they do that great in court. He goes on to talk about Eric Sloan. He was given a book about Eric Sloan by Forrest Fenn, and he didn't read it, and then he just now had time to read it. We have this photo here of a pair of scissors that were left in the and he wrote a quadplet, which is a small poem. It was in the style of something that Forrest would do. So the finder wrote it. And Forrest left some scissors and so again, great picture. Boy, this person, the finder, this must be him because he's got these pictures, right? I mean, he probably got a set of the pictures. Forrest had a set of the pictures. Yeah, Forrest had a set of the pictures. All the people that knew Forrest Fenn had access to those pictures. Doesn't have to be the finder to do this. What we're reading. It's so easy. You know, they did a study one time about the effect of signs. Signs are incredible. Signs, when it's written, and you say, like, stay off the grass, people will stay off the grass. If you simply tell people, by the way, when you walk into this particular area, stay off the grass, people walk on the grass far more. But if you're out there and there are little signs saying stay off the grass, people stay off the grass just because of words. These are just words written by someone called the finder. As I said, I could have written this. I didn't. But I could have written this. Someone could have been paid to write this by, just my opinion, someone that is close to the Forrest Fenn family. Someone that was close to the chase, that was involved in the chase, who knows? We don't know. That's why I think people should start getting a little angry and a little irritated the way this is going, folks. We now have someone calling himself the finder who has shown us absolutely no proof that he's the finder, outside of pictures that make you believe he must be somehow involved with the find because he's got the pictures. Well, as I have said, could be people that knew Forrest Fenn who have the pictures, who are behind this. There might not be a finder at all, which is what people have been saying that think the treasure chest was simply retrieved. Now listen to this. This is very interesting. Oh, I wanted to say something that was very, very interesting to me.